3 days after major surgery, I asked my mom to take out the trash. She looked me in the eye and said she didn't know how to. At first, I laughed, By the end of that weekend, I wasn't laughing anymore, because the woman I had spent my entire life admiring couldn't seem to do a single basic adult task. And when I finally pointed it out, she called me an ungrateful brat. What happened next completely changed how I saw my family forever. If you've ever discovered that someone you looked up to wasn't who you thought they were, hit that like button, subscribe, and stick around, because today's story isn't about revenge in the usual sense. It's about a painful realization, a family dynamic hidden for decades, and a truth that changed everything. A few months ago, I underwent a full hysterectomy because of severe endometriosis. If you've never dealt with endometriosis, consider yourself lucky. For years it felt like my body was at war with itself. The pain would come out of nowhere. Some days I couldn't stand up straight, some days I couldn't even get out of bed. So when my doctors finally recommended surgery, I agreed. I was terrified, but I was also exhausted. I just wanted my life back. The surgery itself went well. The problem was recovery. The doctors made one thing very clear. No heavy lifting. No bending. No straining. Basically, every simple task suddenly became difficult. My husband was driving 5 hours to pick up our children from his parents' house. That's when my mom offered to stay with me for the weekend. At the time, I thought it was incredibly sweet. My mom had always been my hero growing up. She worked constantly. She seemed strong, independent, capable of the kind of woman who could handle anything. I admired her honestly. I probably idolized her, so when she volunteered to help, I felt relieved. I thought everything would be fine. I had no idea those few days would completely shatter the image I'd built of her. The first evening started normally. We ordered takeout because cooking wasn't really an option after dinner. The dishes were stacked in the sink. I was sore. My stomach felt like it had been hit by a truck. Every movement hurt, so I asked my mom a simple question. Could you run the dishwasher for me? She stared at me, then blinked, then said something that made me think she was joking. I don't know how I laughed. She didn't. I've never used the dishwasher. Your dad does that. Okay, weird, but everyone has things they don't do. So I let it go. The next morning, I woke up aching. All I wanted was coffee. I asked my mom if she could make a pot again. She looked confused. I don't know how to make coffee. I stared at her. What do you mean? Your father always makes it. Now I was confused, not concerned, just confused, because making coffee isn't exactly advanced engineering. But again, I brushed it aside. Then the little things kept happening. Over and over and over. The trash can became full. I asked if she could take it out. Sure. Hours passed. Nothing happened. Eventually, the garbage was overflowing. The smell started creeping through the kitchen, so despite my pain, I dragged myself up and took care of it afterward. I asked her if she could put a fresh bag in the can. She shrugged. I don't know how. I froze. How do you not know how to put a garbage bag into a trash can? At this point I started paying attention, really paying attention, and what I noticed made me uncomfortable. Every single household task somehow became impossible. Laundry, dishes, cleaning, trash, coffee, pet care, anything remotely practical. She either claimed she didn't know how to or simply ignored it until someone else handled it. And for the first time in my life, I started wondering, what exactly does my mom do? That thought immediately made me feel guilty. Because this was my mother, the woman I loved, the woman I respected, but the evidence was right in front of me. Then came the moment that changed everything. We have one of those large refillable water systems for our cats, the kind with a big jug reservoir. It was getting low. Normally I'd refill it myself, but lifting it wasn't an option, so I asked my mom for help. I even explained exactly what to do. She nodded. A few minutes later, I walked into the kitchen and immediately knew something was wrong. Instead of filling the reservoir, she'd poured water into a random metal bowl and placed it next to the system. I honestly thought she was joking. Mom, what are you doing? I'm giving the cats water. That's not how it works. I walked over and tried explaining it again, calmly, patiently. Or at least I thought I was being patient, but something changed in her expression. Her face tightened, her shoulders stiffened. Suddenly she snapped, "Stop treating me like I'm stupid." I was shocked. What, you keep correcting everything I do? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I wasn't correcting her to be mean. I literally needed help. I was recovering from major surgery. Then came the sentence that hit harder than I expected. You're such an ungrateful brat. Ungrateful, that word echoed in my head. Ungrateful. I was the one recovering from surgery. I was the one dragging trash bags. Despite doctors' orders, I was the one making my own coffee. I was the one doing chores while barely able to bend, and somehow I was the ungrateful one. Something inside me broke. Not with anger, with disappointment. Deep disappointment, because for the first time, I wasn't looking at my mother through the eyes of a child. I was looking at her as an adult. And what I saw wasn't strength. It wasn't competence, it wasn't independence. It was someone who had spent decades letting another person carry all the responsibility. That realization hurt a lot. The rest of the weekend felt different. The illusion was gone. Every interaction felt awkward. Every conversation felt forced. I couldn't stop noticing things. Whenever something needed to be done, she looked around waiting for someone else. Whenever a problem appeared, she expected someone else to solve it. And suddenly, my father came into focus. My entire life, I'd viewed my dad as the quiet one, the background character, the dependable but ordinary parent. Now I was beginning to understand something. Maybe he wasn't ordinary, maybe he'd been carrying the entire household on his back for decades and nobody, including me, had noticed. After my husband and kids returned home, I told him everything, every conversation, every excuse, every task she claimed she couldn't do. He listened quietly, then he asked one simple question: if your dad disappeared tomorrow, what would happen? The answer came instantly and it terrified me. I didn't know. For the first time, I genuinely wondered whether my mom could function independently. Not because she lacked intelligence, but because she'd never forced herself to learn. That wasn't helplessness anymore, that was dependence, and there was a huge difference. The more I thought about it, the angrier I became, not because she couldn't do those tasks, but because she'd chosen not to learn them, and somehow expected everyone else to accommodate that choice. A few weeks later, I finally had a conversation with my dad, just the two of us. I asked him something I'd never asked before. Do you really do everything around the house? He laughed, not a happy laugh, a tired laugh. Then he started listing things: cooking, cleaning, bills, coffee, trash, laundry, dishwasher, pet care, appointments, maintenance, shopping, everything. I sat there stunned. My father wasn't just helping. He was running the entire household. For decades. The biggest shock wasn't hearing it. The biggest shock was realizing he wasn't bitter, that he simply thought it was normal. That conversation changed something in me. I finally thanked him properly, for the first time, and according to him, it was one of the few times anyone ever had. The look on his face said everything. Years of work, years of effort, years of invisible responsibility. Finally acknowledged, that was the real payoff. Not revenge, recognition, truth. The illusion had been shattered. But something more honest had taken its place. Sometimes growing up means realizing your heroes are human. Sometimes it means discovering the people you've overlooked deserve the credit instead, and sometimes the hardest truth isn't that someone failed you. It's that you've been seeing them through the wrong lens all along. If this story made you rethink family roles, hit that like button and subscribe for more unbelievable Reddit stories, and tell us in the comments, have you ever discovered something about a parent that completely changed how you saw them? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, stay safe and keep your eyes open, because the truth is often hiding in plain sight.